Hey everyone. Yeah, it's about 5:57 in the morning. Let me adjust the volume on this first a little bit. There we go. Yeah, it's about 5:57 in the morning. I thought I'd do this before I head off to work or get ready for work. Um, but basically, I think I've basically talked about the whole Brock Lesnar thing before during my lunch break at work. But I thought I'd talk about it again, and as well as the other news that's dropped this week. And that is the fact that, well, we know that Vince McMahon is planning to bring back the XFL. 2020 is his target year to bring back the XFL. And, everybody said that, it's his money. He can do what he wants with it. And that is true. He can. No one can say he can, and no one can say he can. No one can go up to him and say, hey, what you're doing is a bad idea, because they can't. Um, it's his money. He can do what he wants. It's like, it's like, how do I put this? It's like, that way. Hold off for a sec. But it's kind of like if somebody told me what to do with my money that I earn from work or I get from Social Security. If they told me, oh, you need to do this and that, they don't really have the right to tell me that, unless they feel I'm being irresponsible. As long as I'm paying bills, helping out with groceries, doing stuff like that, I'm okay. But if they come up to me and say, "Hey, you need to do this, you need you need to do that," they can't. They don't have the right to tell me to do that because it's my money. I earned it. I I earn it through my work. I get it monthly as support. I can do what I want. That's pretty much it. Um, so one thing a lot of them have said about Vince McMahon spending about 500 million per season, per year, per season on the XFL, that being the initial first 3 seasons. A lot of them have said Vince has the right to do that. But the one critical thing they say about it is Vince McMahon could contribute most of what he's spending in those next 3 years to better lighting. Well, not better lighting, but to better pyrotechnics, better sets. You know, maybe start maybe back insurance, health insurance for his wrestlers, his superstars. A lot of them bring up all these different kind of scenarios that Vince can try out with his company with that 500 million he's spending. But again, you can't tell him what to do with or without it. If he wants to spend it on whatever, he has the right to do that. There's nothing we can really tell him. There's nothing I can tell him. There's nothing you could tell him. There's nothing Shane McMahon, his own son, can tell him. Stephanie McMahon, his own daughter, can tell him. Linda, who works for Trump, can tell him. Nobody can tell him what to do. If he wants to spend this over those first 3 seasons, that's his business. But the one thing, but the one thing the thing people wonder is why? Why spend so much in just 3 seasons? And well, here's the thing: if Vince is going to put the XFL under his new entertainment division called Alpha Entertainment, and basically try to make it separate from the WWE, and try to take it more serious, more try to make take it more serious than it was in the past. Try to make it more authentic to football than it was in the past. If he feels if he feels depositing 500 million a year is going to do that, that's his business. But there's reasons he's doing the 500 million. He needs the money to basically make this a reality again. He needs the money to distribute to all the cities that are going to have teams that are going to be part of this. He needs the money to ensure he's got enough to pay off the broadcasting teams that are going to cover the XFL. He that's basically where the 500 million per year is going, to make sure all that was needed originally is now finally there. And there's no hiccups. There's no like, okay, hiccups. There's no mocking. There's no joking. This is basically, in Vince's eyes, going to be taken very seriously. It's going to be treated as an authentic league. That's what it's going to be treated as. Because you take a look at this: when the NFL is on an off season and the players are resting up before they go to camps and all that, the one league that's constantly still playing, even though it's a short season, is the AFL and the IFL, the Arena and Indoor Football Leagues. They're still playing. The IFL, or the AFL, I should say, more promptly than the IFL. And even though it's just a 50-yard game, and even though the games are just played on a 50-yard field within the arena, it's still something that fans can sink their teeth into and take seriously. And a lot of those AFL players either come from the NFL or they go to the NFL. Or maybe they play in the NFL, but they work the AFL as a sort of a way to keep themselves in check, keep themselves in shape. You know, it's kind of like with athletes that when the NBA is on an off season, the NBA summer league is mostly like for the young rookies and up and comers and stuff. But some of the main players will go down to the summer league and participate there for a little bit to make sure they work out the kinks, but to keep as well as keep themselves in shape. Stuff like that. There's a lot of Major League Baseball players that will play baseball when baseball is during an off season. They'll go and play internationally for these internationally all-star games or international teams. They'll go play for them just to keep themselves in shape. And when you look at the XFL, so basically when you look at the XFL, Vince is looking at a league that's going to be taken more seriously, be more is going to be taken very seriously this time. He's putting all this stuff into it. He's, like I said, he's separating it the best he can with his Alpha Entertainment division to try to make it its own identity, make sure it's not associated with WWE, and hopefully help make it a more profitable success than it was last time. And if he feels, like I said, 500 million a year is going to do that, then that's his decision. If it backfires on him, he's going to learn. Look, maybe this isn't the best solution. Maybe this XFL thing's not going to work out the way you're hoping. But if he's determined to go this route, he'll go this route. And one thing I hear a lot of people, pointing out sometimes is how Vince basically doesn't want to have anything to do with wrestling anymore, and that's why um, that's why he's doing this. That's why he's doing the XFL. He wants to get out of wrestling. And the counter argument is, if he didn't like wrestling, then why did he put his body on the line in several feuds that he had, ranging from Austin all the way to Hogan, from Austin, Rock, Hogan, Triple H, CM Punk, even Brock Lesnar, and just recently Kevin Owens. Why would he put himself through all that if he didn't love wrestling? If he didn't have a passion for the business, he wouldn't have. But maybe he's realizing his time in the WWE is coming to an end, and what many people are hoping he's going to do is going to happen, and maybe it's going to happen sooner than later, so he can mainly focus on the XFL. And maybe that's why he wants to put 500 million in per year, because that'll be a way for him to get away from WWE, put it in the hands of Paul Levesque, his son-in-law, Triple H, who's Triple H in the ring, his daughter Stephanie, and even his son Shane, and let them have a go at running the WWE while he's running the XFL. And that might be maybe that's his plan. And that he's going to use the 500 mil he's going to get, use any of the profits and payments they're getting from Fox with the deal they're getting through having SmackDown on Fox Network, Saturday Night's Main Event on Fox Network, and NXT on FS1. Maybe he's going to use some of those profits to contribute to the 5 mil. And then, like I said, maybe that's his out. Maybe that's his way of having an out, so he can focus, so he can get out of wrestling and focus more on the XFL. And then he could just let his son-in-law and his daughter and his son run the WWE while he's running the XFL. Now, not saying he won't still partake in WWE business, maybe productions and all that. He'll probably do that during like the off season of the XFL. But his primary focus, like during WrestleMania time, which would be his primary focus between possibly Royal Rumble up to maybe Money in the Bank, his primary focus will be the XFL. And yeah, even though the 500 million, I do agree, could be distributed elsewhere to help the WWE become a better product. If the 500 mil is his is his way of getting out of the NFL, out of the WWE for the time being, during the initial run, the initial first 3 seasons of the XFL, and thus handing it off to his son-in-law and his daughter and his son to see how they'll run it without him. Maybe that might be a good thing in disguise for WWE, because a lot of people are always saying WWE is suffering. People are complaining that the creative writing's not doing good, productions are not doing good. Maybe if Vince is focusing more on the XFL and he hands it off to those that want to make the WWE back into something, maybe it's a good sign in the end. We don't know. I look at it like this. Yes, I agree. Vince could distribute that 500 million a year that he's also going to probably get through this new deal with Fox. That he could distribute it elsewhere to help the WWE become a better product. Better. What's the word? Better advertisement for when a house show or something comes to town, or a live event, or a live television event comes to town, or pay-per-view. Use it to put better lighting, or bring pyro back, better, use it to create and build new stages established specifically for pay-per-views, not just Mania, in the Greatest Royal Rumble. Basically distribute the money to help do that. Distribute it, like I said, to maybe put a health insurance plan in place for your superstars. I agree that all that could be better suited for $500 million to go to, But again, this is Vince McMahon. And if Vince McMahon wants to say distribute it elsewhere, then that's his business. We have nothing, we can't tell him yay or nay about that. I can't tell him yay and nay about that. Jeff Meacham, Aaron Riff, the Lexman, OTR Central, Chase Oliver, they can't tell him anything about it. You know, nobody can tell him what to do with his money. If he wants to spend 500 million a year on the XFL's first 3 seasons, let him do that. He's only going to learn. He's either going to. It's either going to become a. And what I'm saying is, it'll either be a success for him in the end, or it's going to blow up in his face. And if in those 3 years he doesn't get any kind of major profit back in return, like he doesn't make that 500 million back, he's going to learn, hopefully, that this was a big mistake. And he shouldn't pursue anything outside what he knows, which is WWE. And hopefully, and if that was to happen, hopefully he'll start distributing that kind of money towards making his WWE a better product for fans and wrestlers and superstars and staff and all that alike. So, again, as far as him distributing 500 million, that's his decision. If he wants to do it, let him do it. There's an old saying, you're only going to learn the hard way if you do something that some people probably advise you not to do. And if he's going to learn the hard way, that this is not a good idea, he's going to learn the hard way. He's going to learn he's going to learn he's going to learn in those 5 years, in those next 3 years, if it backfires, he's going to learn the hard way. That maybe some things are meant not to be pursued. You know what I'm saying? He's going to learn the hard way that maybe certain business ventures are not meant to be pursued. And if it takes 3 seasons, maybe less of the XFL's existence, the relaunch that is, to prove a point, that's what it's going to do. That's what it's going to do. And I think Vince realizes that. I think he realizes that he has a huge task on his hands because he's going to have a huge task on his hands, and he's either, like I said, going to make that 500 million back with these 3 seasons of the XFL, or he's going to lose it. He's going to waste it. It's going to waste away in front of him with no profit in return. So again, it's his money. If he wants to do this, let him do it. And as the old saying goes, let him learn the hard way that perhaps spending that much money is not the best idea on a venture that you tried once and it failed. Maybe it's not the best idea to go back to it. But let him learn on his own. Let him learn on his own. My hand hit the computer there. But like I say, let him learn on his own. I think that's the only way he's going to learn. It's the only way I think he's going to learn is if he learns on his own. And, some people like Jeff at OTR Essential will say it is stubborn and stupid. But that's Jeff's opinion. He's very opinionated, and if he feels it's stupid, it's stupid. If he feels it's stubbornness on Vince's part not to realize, hey, it didn't work once, so don't try it again, then that let him learn that. As far as I'm concerned, let him learn that. Let him learn that it's probably not the best idea. And the only way, like I said, he's going to learn that is if he doesn't get a profit in return. You know what I'm saying? It's if he doesn't get any kind of profit in return. So anyway, enough with that. Let's talk about the other news item. I've talked about it before, but it's really come to light this past week. Um, hold on. But like I said, it's really come to light this past week. More so thanks to several reports, like from F4W Online, Mike Johnson, several others, people that host a backstage with WWE Backstage podcast or whatever it's called. A lot of people, a lot of those sources, among others, have been reporting that Brock Lesnar, right now, we don't know if it's shoot or work. We don't know what WWE is doing. We don't know what WWE and Brock Lesnar are doing together. We don't know if this is legit or legit or work. But the report is Brock Lesnar is not going to work SummerSlam, a Big Four pay-per-view, one of the original Big Fours. Basically, the last of the original Big Fours. Well, not the last, but the third to last of the original Big Fours. Yeah. Actually, the fourth to last. Actually, SummerSlam's the third Big Four to debut on pay-per-view, but the fourth Big Four to actually come into existence because the Royal Rumble came into existence in 1988 as a USA special, originally. But getting back on what I'm saying here, um, yeah, apparently Brock Lesnar it's being reported whether this is a work or it's not that Brock Lesnar, the WWE Universal Champion, is not going to work SummerSlam. And usually Brock Lesnar, unless they pretty much have a stacked card, will work, especially if he's the champion, he will work a Big Four pay-per-view. He will. I think he's only missed maybe 1, 2, 3 Big Four pay-per-views since he's been back. Maybe 4, 5. I can't remember. But I know it's not been that many Big Four pay-per-views that he's missed. He's only missed a few in between. But yeah, Brock has rarely missed, as long as the money's right, I guess, he's rarely missed a Big Four pay-per-view. He's rarely missed it. But yet, there's reports going around that he's going to miss this one. Now, we don't know if he reapplied for the USDA testing pool so he can get back into the UFC, especially with the rumor going around that he could get back, that if he does this USDA test and passes, I'm guessing, then not only maybe will his suspension be lifted, but he would be back in time to challenge for the UFC Heavyweight Championship in December. That would be one of the earliest fights that he'd be scheduled to participate in. And ironically, it would be for the UFC's most coveted prize. But here's the thing. Let's look at this as being legit, because that's what, Strike Daddy even did this. But let's take a look at this as being legit. Brock Lesnar, if this is legit, and he's more focused on getting himself ready to go back to the UFC in some shape, form, or fashion and fight, instead of competing in the WWE, if this is legit, then WWE has to do one or two things. They either need to legitimately force his hand. They could turn it into a storyline if they want to, or they can make it as legit as possible. Legitimately force his hand into defending that championship at SummerSlam by probably getting Braun Strowman to come out with them with the briefcase and basically saying something like, usually the briefcase winner will cash in whatever they want, but right now we've all been forced, even him, into a situation to where he's got to cash in at SummerSlam because that could be it could be the last time we see Brock Lesnar as a part of this company, whatever. You can legitimize it, even in a legit story, workshoot story, whatever, to force Brock Lesnar's hand to defend that championship at SummerSlam. Now, the other logical thing is if Brock doesn't want to be here and doesn't want to commit to his final obligations, his final matches that he has with the company, then WWE has it in their right to legitimately strip him of the belt. They can strip him of the belt. And they have the money. Heck, I just mentioned Vince is going to spend $500 million on the XFL. They got money coming in, now thanks to this new deal with Fox, with the Fox network, SmackDown being on the main Fox network, NXT on FS1, Saturday night's main event on the Fox network. They have this money coming in to where over the next 5 years, starting October next year, that they can legitimately strip Brock of the belt and create a new belt, have Stephanie or Vince or Shane come out. Well, since it's a Raw championship, have Stephanie come out and sort of legitimately, and sort of in a legit workshoot style promo, basically say that Brock Lesnar did not live up to his obligations, his part of the deal, and thus we have hereby stripped Brock Lesnar of his championship, and also have fired or released Brock Lesnar from his contract, released Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman from the contracts, and even maybe go as far as say, and which means they are no longer affiliated with WWE, and maybe you can even top that off by having Stephanie say, which also means, by the way, you will never see them in WWE ever again, or something like that. I mean, you can have Stephanie come out and, like I say, in a legitimate work shoot, explain why they stripped Brock, why she has the championship with her. You can have her say, well, we had a new championship created because Brock refused to send it, the original back, so we had to create a new one, a replica, if you will, or a new one. And then you can have her explain again why they did it. Then you can have her, like I say, come out and initially on air fire Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, legitimately saying that, basically legitimizing that they're no longer part of the company, and also maybe adding to it that if you want to make it really feel legit and real, say that you will never have her mention that we will never see them in WWE ever again because they don't deal with people that want to hold a company's property or promotion's property as bait or as bargaining tools to get what they want, or something like that. I mean, that's what they have to do. That's probably the most legitimate thing they can do. You could work it into the storyline in some way, whatever. However they do it, if he doesn't want to be there, he doesn't want to defend the belt, and you even have Paul Heyman, work shoot legitimate, criticizing Raw for not being good and enjoying the commercials over it, but over the product itself, then you basically just come out, then you're basically just saying to the fans, hey, this guy doesn't care. And the fans are telling you at the same time, well, if he doesn't care, why do you have him as a champion? There's many ways you can get the belt off him. And again, two ways is legitimately you could force his hand into defending that belt at SummerSlam against Braun Strowman, who's the Money in the Bank winner, because who knows, what sense does it make for Braun Strowman to be the Money in the Bank winner if he doesn't have a Universal Champion to cash in on? You know what I'm saying? What sense does that make? It would have made more sense to give it to Samoa Joe or even Kofi Kingston, because at least they would have somebody on SmackDown to probably cash in on. But the point is, that's one way they can go, and you could work it into a work shoot storyline. The other is WWE legitimately could release Brock and Paul Heyman from the contracts, and you could legitimately have WWE release Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar from the contracts, have them report the release on WWE.com, have the news outlets all talk about it, have Stephanie McMahon show up on Raw with a new Universal Championship in tow, basically have her explain that because Brock didn't want to live up to his obligations, they stripped him of it and thus released him and Paul Heyman from their contracts. And also on top of that, because Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman never really cared about this company and only used this company as leverage to get what they wanted, mostly to go back to the UFC, that we will never see Brock Lesnar in WWE or wrestling again. And just go from there. It makes more sense because then you will legitimately have a Universal Champion, whether it's Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, doesn't matter. You will legitimately have a Universal Champion that would be on the show every week and at the pay-per-views every month. It makes sense. It makes sense to go that route. Now, if it's a work shoot, like I've said before, I'll give WWE all the props in the world to at least try to make us believe that Brock and Paul don't legitimately care and they're not going to show up, only for them to show up on a Raw, maybe after Extreme Rules or whatever, and basically say, "Hey, we're back, and yeah, Brock's gonna defend the title at SummerSlam." Okay, more power to WWE for pulling that off. But here's the thing. I think what the Lexman and OTR Central and many others have said is true. If the WWE is doing this to build sympathy for Roman Reigns, it's not working. Yeah, he's going to get some cheers when he's associated with certain people, like Seth Rollins or Dean Ambrose or whoever, maybe even Braun Strowman, and perhaps now Bobby Lashley because Bobby's promo this past Monday, or a week ago this past Monday. Or a week ago today, I should say. He might get some pops here and there, but when all that is said and done, he's still going to get booed. He'll get an initial pop, but I think like the Lexman said this past week, when he came out and he got that pop, and then people realized who came to Seth Rollins' aid, they turned on him because they don't want Roman. They don't want Roman shoved down their throat. Because here's the thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The WWE and mostly Vince McMahon, have to look at the fact that we live in an age of sports entertainment and wrestling where fans want people that can actually work. And we're not just talking, we can put on a good match with the right kind of people. No, they want people that they can, what I'm talking about when I say they want people that can actually work, they want people that they see in places like New Japan or Ring of Honor or even on NXT and 205 Live. They want those kind of people in the main event. Yeah, it's kind of bounce around, whatever, flips and dips, whatever you want to call it. The point is, fans want those kind of people. They want people that can go. They want people that can have a great matchup that basically 20 minutes, 25, 30 minutes in, and it's just a regular matchup. You get the first pinfall attempt and somebody kicks out. They want that kind of person to be the Universal Champion, to be pushed down their throats. They want that kind of person. Why do you think they give Seth Rollins such a pop every week? Why do you think they give AJ Styles that pop? Because despite that they could probably do the same things here and there, they change up just a bit, but it's also because they're the kind of people that will go and do that kind of work ethic. They will go and basically do what they have to do to succeed. They will pull out maneuvers and stops and stuff like that people like Roman Reigns can't do. And mostly the other reason people don't want Roman Reigns is because they know WWE just wants to capitalize on the success of Roman Reigns' cousin, The Rock. And if it wasn't for The Rock's success in Hollywood, darn well Roman Reigns wouldn't be pushed. The same with Nia Jax. They could talk about the anti-bully storyline with Alexa Bliss and everything all they want. But the only reason they pushed her wasn't just because of that. It wasn't because of the difference that she brought to the women's division. No. They pushed her because she was The Rock's cousin. And again, it goes back to what I said. They're trying to capitalize on the success that The Rock has had in Hollywood. That's why they're pushing Roman Reigns. That's why they continue, in a sense, to push Nia Jax. Even though she may not get the championship back for a while, they're pushing them because they're The Rock's cousins. And like I said, if The Rock wasn't as successful as he is in Hollywood right now, then Roman Reigns and Nia Jax wouldn't be getting the opportunities they're getting. That's the only reason they're getting these shots. Because it's not because they want to make Roman Reigns the next John Cena or they want to make Nia Jax the next China. No, they want to capitalize on the cousin The Rock's success. That's plain and simple. That's it. I mean, why do you think they've had Roman Reigns go through different like little personality changes here and there, like the suffering succotash or whatever, and had Nia act about being a good person and being against bullies, only to kind of be hypocritical about that, doing her little friendly rivalry with Ronda, because they want to basically try to turn them into the next Rock. You can't tell me that Vince McMahon is not upset at the fact that he doesn't have The Rock anymore. And The Rock is mainly a Hollywood guy. That Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is a Hollywood guy now. Main focus is there instead of WWE. You can't tell me that Vince isn't on the phone. He has people on the phone every day, every hour, trying to find a way to get The Rock back in the ring, at least for a match or so, at SummerSlam or WrestleMania or whatever. You can't tell me that he's not doing that constantly every day. Because he wants The Rock back. And that's why he's pushing Roman Reigns. That's why he's pushing Nia Jax, because he's hoping one, if not both, will be the next Rock. He's hoping Nia will be the next Rock of the women's division, if not the next China. He's hoping Roman Reigns will be the next Rock of the males division, of the men's division. That's why he's pushing him. It's not because he wants to turn Roman into the next John Cena. He's turning him in. He's doing it because he's related to The Rock, and they want to capitalize on The Rock's success. And trying to gain him sympathy, trying to do the sympathy storyline with him, where he's saying, "Hey, I've been held down," despite the fact that he's done 4 WrestleMania main events. He's been a 3-time champion, as far as I know. I think that's what it is, 3-time champion. Yeah, he's been a 3-time. Has he been 3-time champion? Let me see here real quickly. I gotta get ready for work in just a bit. I actually gotta leave early so I can get some money out of Knob Hill over here. Oh, there we go. Should say his accomplishments here. World Championship 3 times. He's held it 3 times in his career. He's held it 3 times in his career. He's held it 3 times in his career. Yeah, he's held it in 2016. He won it twice in 2016. Let's see. He won it at Survivor Series. He won it Raw, and he won it. So yeah, he's had the belt 3 times, and that's what one thing people are complaining about is he's saying he's being held down, but yet he's main evented 5 times. He's he's main evented 5 times, and yet you know he's saying he's being held down, and this is all part of a sympathy storyline to make him look like the babyface against the heelish Brock Lesnar who doesn't give a crap about WWE or the fans. And it's just not working. It's not working. Fans would rather have Finn Balor against Brock Lesnar. They'd rather have Seth Rollins against Brock Lesnar. They'd rather have, as crazy as it sounds, they'd rather have Rey Mysterio against Brock Lesnar. They'd rather have Braun Strowman against Brock Lesnar, period. Because they feel they're more deserving of a championship opportunity, if not run with that championship, than Roman Reigns. Because those fans, and it's a lot of fans out there, hardcore, non-hardcore, casual, whatever, that know the only reason WWE is doing this is not because they want to push Roman Reigns as the next John Cena. It's not because they want to push Nia Jax as the next China. No, they want to push them as being the next Rock of each of their divisions. And it's because of The Rock's success. The Rock being the cousin, it's because of his success in Hollywood is why they're pushing him like this. Why they're giving him these story arcs of sympathy and anti-bullying. Because they want the next Rock. And like I said, you can't tell me Vince McMahon doesn't want Rock back. He does. You can't tell me he isn't having people constantly calling The Rock's, agent saying, hey, can we get him back here? Because they are. And that's the truth. And I think people watching this know that. I think people watching this know this. And, and sometimes it could also be due to Vince's memory lapse, as been reported by ex-writer Kevin Eck. Maybe he has a memory lapse. Maybe he doesn't remember that fans don't want Roman as their champion. He keeps constantly pursuing it. Maybe that's it. Maybe he has a memory lapse and he thinks he's back in the 1980s. He thinks Roman's Hogan and Brock's Andre the Giant or something. I don't know. But fans have made it perfectly clear they don't want Roman. And if Vince's plan right now, whether this is a legit work, if this is a work, or part legitimate, part work, whatever, to get Roman over at SummerSlam in a potential matchup in victory over Brock Lesnar in Brooklyn, New York, of all places, shows that Vince is out of touch, he's out of his mind, he has memory lapse, and he probably thinks he's back in the freaking 1980s. It's time for Vince to realize no matter how hard he tries, he's not going to find an audience or a town that's going to give Roman the positive reception he hopes. And that's the truth. So, again, we don't know what's going on with Brock. But I do agree with Jeff Siegel on this. The OTR Central. This is stupid either way you look at it. Stupid because WWE, if it's legit, should just strip Brock and, like I said earlier, have Stephanie McMahon come out with a new belt, explain what's going on, and go from there. Or legitimately play it into a work shoot storyline, force Brock to come and defend it, go from there. And if it's a work shoot, it's stupid because you're trying to give sympathy for a character for somebody nobody wants, that's been 3 times champion, that's been in the main event 4 times. Nobody wants him, and you're trying to get him sympathy mostly at SummerSlam in one of the most hardcore of smart mark wrestling cities. It's not going to work. And I think Vince McMahon needs to realize that, needs to get some medication to get his memory restored, needs people to get him some medication or help to get him to realize he's not back in the 80s or whatever. But this needs to stop. And as far as Brock Lesnar is concerned, if it's legitimate, just strip him of the belt and do what I said. Have Stephanie come out, explain what's going on, and go from there. If it's a work shoot, go with somebody else. Go with Braun Strowman. That's probably the better choice instead of Roman Reigns. Put Roman Reigns in another program. Put him in a program with Dolph Ziggler and have him beat Dolph Ziggler for the U.S. title. Make more sense. People will receive that better. So, That's really all I'm going to say on both subjects, guys. I got to get out of here. I got to get ready for work. Work. I actually got to leave in about maybe less than, well, about 30, 33 minutes because I got to get some money out at Nob Hill. I actually got to get some cash back there so I can get on the bus, unless I have something left on my bus card, but I don't think so. So let me just check if there's anybody in the chat. No, there's nobody in the chat this morning. Right now, of course, it's about 6:42 a.m. so Pacific time. So what do you expect? So um, anyway, though, that's really all I'm gonna say, guys. So thank you all for watching. Tune in later on down the line. I might talk about more about it, some other stuff, but relating to the situation. But again, thank you all for watching. Excuse me. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear from each and one of you. The Lexman OTR Central. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this. In the descriptions down in the comment section or on Twitter or on Facebook. Let me know what you all think about it. And I will talk to y'all later. I got to get out here and get ready for work. Peace out. God bless.